Welcome to this lesson. Now that we've seen how to create variables and how to assign values to them, let's try to do calculations with them. Before I start, I want to tell you something. These are concepts that are related to our app that we're creating. Okay, so I'm not by any means covering all the JavaScript basics because that would take hours. And this course is beyond the scope of that kind of information. So let's get back to our lesson now. So there are some basic operators in JavaScript, and I'm sure you've learned about all of those in your math class. For example, there's addition, and there is subtraction, and then there is multiplication. And in programming languages, multiplication is usually written with a star, but in your math class you probably wrote it like this. But with a program, you have to mention it as star, otherwise your browser would not know that you want to do multiplication. Alright, so that's multiplication, and then there is division, and finally modulus. So this part, modulus, this might be unfamiliar to you because most math classes don't cover this topic, but it's a very simple concept actually. Modulus gives you the remainder of the division between two operands. So for example, let's say you give 3 modulus 2. The output of this is going to be 1 because 3 divided by 2 is 1 and there is a remainder 1. So that remainder would be outputted as the value of this particular operation. So that's what modulus does. Similarly, there are some more complicated operations as well. For example, there is plus equal to, and then there's minus equal to, and then multiplication equal to, division equal to, and finally modulus equal to. So these are some of the complicated operations in JavaScript. So you can write them as a plus equal to phi. When you do that, it basically means you're writing a is equal to a plus phi. So this is a short form of writing a is equal to a plus phi. So you basically save a lot of space by writing it like this rather than like this. So that's what they mean. Similarly, you can say a minus equal to phi, a multiplication equal to phi, division equal to phi, and then modulus equal to phi. So all of this are possible. Division equal to phi. So all of these are viable options in JavaScript. Okay, so that's it for JavaScript operations. There are some more, but as I told you, I'm only covering the bare basics we need for this project, so I've skipped them for now. Now let me show you a way to show messages on screen. So let me delete all of this. So once we perform a calculation, the calculation's output needs to be shown on some screen, otherwise you won't know what the output is going to be. So to do that, you need a way to output values, a way to output messages. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that. There are multiple ways to do that in JavaScript, but I'll only be covering one of them right here. So for now, I'll be covering alerts. Alert. So what are alerts? They're basically pop-ups, small little pop-ups that contain messages that we input inside our JavaScript code. So for example, to create a pop-up, you need to give the keyword alert, and then within 2 braces, you can give a message like this: hello, how are you? Alright, so that's how you give an alert, and then finally you need to give a semicolon. So the keyword we need to use here is alert, and then within the brackets, the message is printed out. Alright? There is a catch here, if you can notice. The message should be within quotes, especially if it's a string like it is right now. These are a string of characters, so this is a string. So it needs to be within 2 quotations, or if it's not, you won't get the output. Okay? So now let's run this in our live preview and see if it works. Okay, let's see. See? Can you see here? Hello, how are you? So that's our alert box. So if I click on OK now, and if I run this again, alert box pops up again. Okay, so no matter how many times I refresh, every time the alert box will pop up. So that's how alerts work. So let me go back to my JavaScript. this is not the only way to print out messages in alert though. We can also print out values in a variable. So for example, let me delete this, and instead of this, let me say create a variable called message and give it the same value. Hello, how are you? Sorry about that. So how are you? So I've created a variable message with the value hello, how are you? So now I'm going to try to alert this particular message and see if I get the same output. Okay, so alert message. Okay, let me try to run the message again. Run the live preview again. Let's see if we get the output. See, we're getting the same output. Hello, how are you? Alright, so that's how it works with a variable as well. So did you see that I did not use quotations when I mentioned the variable name inside the alert, as in message is not within quotations? Why is that? That's because quotations are only needed when you write down strings, not variables, because variables contain values within them. Okay, so you don't need to mention quotations for them. So now that we've seen how to alert messages directly and then using variables, let's try to combine both. So what if I want something like this? The sum of the numbers is 11. So I want something like this to be printed out, where this is a string till the sum of the number is, and then 11 is a value that our JavaScript code calculated. So that would probably be a variable. So I want to combine both and print that out in our alert. So how can I do that? For that, let me delete everything and then let me create two variables for now. So number 1, which is written as num1, is going to be 5, and then var num2, I'll assign the value 6 to it, and finally I'll assign another value called sum. That's going to hold the sum of these two numbers. So let me first declare the sum, and then I'll do the operation num1 plus num2. This essentially means I'm adding the values of these two variables. So 5 plus 6, that's what happens here. So instead of writing sum is equal to num1 num2 after declaring, I could also get this and put it right here. This would work as well. Both work the same. Sorry, only one semicolon. So both work the same. So you can do either way. Now I want to display these values in the format I've specified before. So to do that, I can use a concatenation operator plus. So this is the operator I'll be using to add two strings. Do not confuse this with the addition operator though, because this addition operator is used to add two numbers, in this case the values in num1 and num2, which are both numbers. But when you use the plus sign with strings, it becomes a concatenation operator and can be used to concatenate or join two strings and display them together. Okay, so these are completely two different operators depending on what the operands are, so what you use them with. So let me show you how it's done. So I'm going to create an alert first, and then let me specify the string I want. The sum of the two numbers is, and then I'm going to use the concatenation operator, and then finally I'm going to specify sum. So the value of sum is printed out as well. So in here I'm concatenating this particular string with the value of sum. So essentially I should get the sum of the two numbers is 11. So let me see if I get that. But before that, I want to talk about this particular space. I left the space in here because if I didn't, the sum of two numbers 11 would be printed out just after is. Okay, so since I wanted a space, I gave it right here. Alright, so let's save this and then look at the output again. See, the sum of the two numbers is 11 and there is a space between S and 1. So it works perfectly. So that's how you create alerts in JavaScript, and that's how you perform operations, multiple mathematical operations in JavaScript as well. So in the next lesson, we'll delve more into other JavaScript concepts. So I'll see you there. Thank you.